Going to be big picks Talia as well for Scout. But one pick that hasn't been banned out is the Jarvan, which is not only a flex but a massive pick for Mouse in the top lane.
Yeah, Rusty, you and I went round and round. We've all agreed unanimously as a casting team that Jarvan was going to be one of the highest priorities coming into this best of 5, just because of both teams' comfort, flexing it, jungle, top lane, and how potent and powerful all of his matchups have been.
See, and that's where you have to actually address this in further detail and say RNG will flex it. EDG have not often flexed that champion. It primarily does go to clear love, so it's a bit predictable.
And my big concern, though, is that if Gragas is left open, which why I wanted the Gragas banned, he technically just counters out Jarvan. You know, if he jumps on someone with a Cataclysm, Gragas just resets all of that effort.
I mean, this is MLXG's most picked champion. We talk about the Elise, but he barely ever gets it. On top of that, Gragas is the next go-to, and that's going to be locked in alongside the Alistar for Ming.
I mean, name of the game right now is denial picks. That's a denial away from Mako. I mean, Ming can play Alistar. We know that MLXG's a Gragas player. And then the Cassiopeia taken away from Xiaohu. This is both teams just quickly grabbing what the other team wants.
Yep, Cassiopeia, the Tristana as well for iBoy. It's going to be important to make sure that he gets that AD carry early on.
And the other important thing about Tristana is her ability to break lanes quickly and to snowball very quickly into a mid-game. Because of the satchel charge, because of that presence on the structures, EDG will usually throw everything in the kitchen sink down bottom, break that lane 7, 8 minutes, maybe 9 minutes in, and then quickly start rotating Trist around to the other lanes.
And she will have a Cassiopeia and a Jarvan standing in front and protecting her as well. Cho'Gath also locked in for Let Me, you'd have to assume, in the top lane. And we're revealing a lot of our roles early. We're removing flexes from the Rift on the red side, so they're just empowering who gets those last picks. You can tell who's going to get it for RNG.
Yeah, starting to target that support pool now from Mako as well. On top of that, removes the Thresh from him. Obviously, big champion for him as well, along with Ming as well. He's been 13 times this split. But on the opposite side, EDG looking towards their next ban. A couple flexes, but they will start hitting Uzi as he doesn't have his AD carry just yet. First one will be Xayah, Rusty.
And they're trying to attack Mako's champion pool. It's not really a conceivable thing that you will remove his champions, but they're taking away the best ones. The second pick of Alistar is a denial. The Rakan and Thresh bans also removed. Mako starts to get stretched thin, but he definitely has options.
Wonder if there's a Braum ban coming up. No, it's actually going to be the Renekton towards Mouse, so expecting there could be a flex for the Jarvan into the jungle. Braum is still the most played champion from Mako. And
it's not that Braum's not a playmaker, but he's not a playmaker in the same way that someone like Thresh, someone like Rakan, someone like Alistar is. And that's what they've been kind of defanging Mako, is taking away his big playmaking champion.
You want to make plays, you can pick yourself up a Bard if you're feeling a bit adventurous.
Please no.
He's played it once already as a split for us.
Bard has an absurdly high pick rate when Kog'Maw is selected, which technically is still available here.
It's true. I mean, Uzi, you know, he's got his pool pinched a little bit, but he's still got a plethora of champions to choose from. Not like when we saw him play Lucian in the AD carry pool, because it was like 8 AD carry bans.
And you have to look at this now. With the Syndra being locked in, you would actually just expect Tahm Kench to be seen from Mako. Alongside that, if you really need to, something like a Morgana actually works quite well. You've got a Tristana, so you can consider the Ardent Sense of Morgana as an option there when you're looking at Mako's champion.
And likewise, you don't need to worry about push potential because you already have the Tristana, so that's already going to be in your back pocket in terms of pressure for the lane.
Well, this setup looks like very much a team fight to me, and especially putting a lot of stock into iBoy on the Tristana and then pairing that with the Cassiopeia in the mid lane, pairing a team fight with Jarvan. Then you got shields on that, then you got another shield if they lock in this Braum. Again, most played champ from Mako 10 times in the split so far. Would not surprise me if this one gets locked in.
He loves himself some Braum, and it would be unsurprising to say the least. Of course, similar concept to the Tahm Kench, how you can deny and take away damage from a Syndra, but you're not going to be able to save Mr. iBoy from a Cho'Gath, and that's where Shen comes into play.
But the big difference between taking Braum versus Kench into this lane is that you're immediately then giving more power towards clear love. You know, if this becomes a 3v3, then you're using the Braum passive. You're stacking more CC, you're getting more damage, whereas Kench isn't able to work so well.
Hello.
Wow.
Wow.
This is an Ezreal, and that will be going to Uzi. So we haven't seen, I don't believe we've seen any Ezreal at all.
No.
In the LPL in summer. So this is a new one.
So that's Abstract. Uzi's pulled out one of his better champions. I mean, we have to say that Uzi Ezreal is world-class,
legacy,
world-renowned. We all know that he's fantastic at it. We haven't seen him play it. We haven't seen Ezreal at all until very recently. So this is a different pick to come out of the bottom lane of RNG.
And typically RNG's bottom lane is all about that aggression, you know, level 2 all-ins, denying CS, which Ezreal has a lot of range there, so if he gets on the back part of the caster creeps, he can cause a lot of damage, but he needs to get there and not give the immediate shove and control over to Triss.
All right, talk to me about what this Ezreal does to the entire composition now, because that was a bit of a curveball thrown at the very end there.
You have to look at the damage the composition deals, and you do really have to question the Ezreal as a pick in general. There are other options there, but he doesn't take down tanks all that effectively. And when you look at EDG's roster, not a bad thing. Shen's the biggest threat, but he's really hard to get on top of an Ezreal with Shen. And so ultimately it's about surviving the lane, getting through the lane, making sure that iBoy doesn't get ahead. If he can poke people down at level 1 or 2, the kill threat's there because of Alistar. But like, realistically, what does an Ezreal do for a composition? The same as always. He pokes a little bit. When he can all in, he does.
I mean, their siege potential is pretty absurd between Syndra, Gragas, and Ezreal. If they ever rock up to a tower and they have a lead, it's not just their ability to threaten with the siege, it's also their ability to dive, then flanked by their 2 big tanks in Show and Alistar.
But you don't really want to be diving a Shen Braum Cassiopeia either. That's the other concern.
Sieging? Sieging.
So, I mean, I understand where you're going, and I do believe they're sieging in a vacuum would be fantastic, but they're against EDG's composition. They don't want to be sieging. I feel like it's objective fights, like Drake's setting up in areas, maybe picking someone off, having that set up there first, vision control, all the important necessities.
Yeah, and we see this two-pronged assault from so many LPL teams nowadays. The Cassiopeia usually the most sustained damage in the mid lane from the magic damage, and then you look towards the ADC and you have a hyper carry, some sort of Twitch, Tristana, Cockmore, something along those lines for the ADC, and everyone else is there to assist.
It's a much more standard kind of front-to-back composition. You've got your AD carry, you know, in the very back line there, all of the threats that stand in front of Tristana, that protect her, create space. So RNG, it's about the creativity, about how they can crack that, separate the fight, and start picking people off.
All right, where are you favoring these compositions as we head into game 1?
I feel like my conversations so far have been inclined towards a certain team. I actually really like EDG's composition the most. I feel like having a Tristana protected by all of these champions and having those champions deal damage is what might tip the balance towards EDG.
Well, here we go. Game 1 between EDG and RNG. It all comes down to this. 11 hard weeks of play, an entire year of the LPL in this best of 5. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, EDG and RNG.
Crowd's going off. They're having a great time here as well. Game number 1, who couldn't be excited? We get to watch how they all start on Summoner's Rift as well, and some cheeky stuff in the middle lane.
Now the classic Cassiopeia Corrupting Potion, just going to twin fang you to death.
You know, people keep telling me that Cassie was nerfed in her
At level 1, yeah, I don't know about that.
But we keep seeing the likes of Scout and Rookie just prove that wrong and wrong again. Now, the important thing is, again, to watch and make sure that she's picking up these CS with the Twin Fang so she can get the mana return there and have enough mana to look for a possible all-in.
Yeah, and one of the big things as to why they're able to continue these patterns is starting with the Corrupting Potion, having the 3 pots there. At level 1, you'll get a lot of mana back from just expending one of the 3 charges.
You just see early pathing now from Clearlove. He's going towards the top lane, the cheesy level 2 gank it looks like.
But Mouse is only level 1, possibly close to level 2, possibly waiting for that taunt.
One more minion and then he has the taunt.
Doesn't get it.
Oh, he got it. Just got it. Flash. Shadow Dash doesn't come up, but the Flag and Drag connect. Clearlove, he's looking for the first blood. There it is. Over to Mouse, the first blood of the finals.
And that early into the game, EDG just waltz into the top lane and they take themselves the early 300 gold. And that goes on to Mouse as well. That is gold that goes around the entire map.
I thought all of his champions were bad, though, according to Let Me. Is that not the case?
That's definitely not the case, Paul. Definitely not the case.
Good stuff. Already getting some action for us.
It's now also the question of what can EpicSkillshot do in return. So obviously he's getting more farm. He does have inside track on the bottom side of the map. And iBoy and Mako are actually quite far forward. So they didn't place the ward behind the tower to catch this, which normally they do. In fact, I think Mako's going to place it right now.
Yeah, EpicSkillshot, I mean, he sees the ward getting placed down. It looks like pings are coming out there. Just as he turns the corner, he's still out of vision right where he's standing.
Yeah, he knows. He's seeing if he can get a gank off before he goes to the jungle camp, and as he goes to the camp, Mako finds him.
How's it going?
It never ends for EpicSkillshot, does it?
Well, Mako has just made himself aware, but that means that Ming will head over as well on top of that. Though iBoy has turned up, and now he's just losing time in lane where Uzi is free farming.
Likewise, Clearlove also just kind of free farming on the other side of the map. Let Me has now returned into the lane. There is a nice ward that will catch Clearlove if he goes for the Krug camp.
Again, combo out from Ming, but good timing on the rocket jump from iBoy. Mako stepping it back, waiting on the concussive blows, but it's just a bit of light trading in the bottom lane, some bluff taps as we look towards Mouse on his first back. He's got that first blood gold to spend as well.
Yeah, now one thing you have to mention is MLXG did do his Scuttle Crab towards the end, is that they forced the smite out of him. So it just means that that's one charge gone, slower clear relative to the Jarvan, who's completely uncontested through all of that jungle. So a bit of extra tempo as well as that first kill goes to Clearlove, and ultimately what that does is it resets the tempo advantage that MLXG was going to have by Mako pressuring him, by Tristana walking over and iBoy forcing that smite.
Mouse actually burning the TP back to lane here, but of course he will have that level 6 Stan United shortly. And he is also moving towards the Spectre's count, it looks like. There are two big AP damage threats, also including Gragas if you put him in there.
Thing is Shin's just here to really soak up the farm. Maybe with the first blood and the early itemization, he can stand a bit more confidently into the lane. Unfortunately for Cho, he's kind of only got one real option: either get shoved in because I don't use my Vorpal Spikes to last hit, or use my Vorpal Spikes because I want to last hit and push the wave out of my control.
Yeah, and if he doesn't use those, then he's not going to be able to trade with Mouse at all, and so naturally will be a pushing champion, where Shen is not. It can choose to itemize into pushing if you want the Tiamat and Titanic Hydra. But so far, he's going towards the magic resistance, wants to just sustain through. Happy to be pushed in upon, even though he wants to be freed up to ult away.
I will say, if we're looking at these early matchups in the mid lane and the bottom lane, the advantages are currently going over to Xiaohu and Uzi. You can see even Xiaohu just battering down Scout in the mid lane, making his way towards level 6.
And of course, the most important thing for Xiaohu is that control ward that just caught Clearlove, but meanwhile bot.
Good timing there from Mako to stand behind Braum. Though MLXG is wading his way into the river and down into the tri-brush.
And they're suddenly very afraid. Mako's about to go on ward and find himself in MLXG.
He's called out. MLXG connects the body slam. Meanwhile, iBoy, the shortest hop of the century. Mako incredibly low, but Uzi doesn't have the necessary follow-up. And EDG do escape this gank.
Yeah, they're able to get out perfectly fine. Of course, that's the proactivity of Mako to place the vision in the first place. Might have died if MLXG got closer to Ming, who has flash on that Alistar, could have made the plays, so they navigate it very well.
But it's kind of a back-to-back gank. Check out what Letme's doing right now. Moving down the river, trying to find space anytime he gets top priority wave. He is stopped by that control ward, but you can already see what he wants to do. Push the wave forward with those Vorpal Spikes, disappear underneath, and stack the CC between Cho and Syndra.
You know, the unfortunate thing here is, whilst that's definitely still a valid strategy, it's going to be harder to kill Scout as time progresses. Remember, he has Cleanse, firstly, so that's one bit of crowd control gone. And then he's also going to be building Abyssal Mask. It's 2 magic damage dealers through the jungle and mid lane. Abyssal Mask makes the most sense. And then how do you kill this Cassiopeia that's going to be protecting the rest of her team and dealing damage?
Scout has even started off with a Negatron Cloak on top of that, so he's just stopping all of that magic damage coming towards him. You can see that Muramana started to be built towards by Uzi, so setting himself up, first back, first tier.
It used to be that Uzi would actually prioritize Sheen before he went for the tier, so actually changing up his build a little bit for Ezreal. He was one of the big Ezreal players that actually would take very delayed backs because he wanted to keep you 1v1 in the lane and abuse Ezreal's very strong, first back status.
Yeah, and we always saw during the LPL split of 2016 before the Worlds that he loves himself a pickaxe now to empower the auto attack trading. Wants to almost rush the pickaxe before the Sheen, that way he can continue to auto attack and keep up in lane. So whilst he keeps you there and wants to delay the backs for as long as possible, this is another way of doing exactly that, just by matching it through the first shot.
And see, most of the minion advantage that Uzi has in this early game has been because MLXG has constantly been ganking. Those 2 early ganks has put iBoy behind, and then you just see in their position in lane as well, just have to try and even up this minion wave. But outside of that, the junglers have been pretty quiet, as once again, Ning is going to jump in, get some damage down to iBoy. Clearly went for that initial gank in top lane, but now he's just kind of falling.
I mean, that's the thing, you have a Tristana down there, so ultimately, while EDG are usually about their bottom lane...
Does he miss?
I think he clipped him.
He definitely hit them.
Here comes Alistar.
That's what I mean, he doesn't miss. That was actually 2 Qs in a row with a W that went through both of them, and no matter how hard Uzi tries, he makes Ezreal look like it's not a skill shot.
I mean, it's a legacy pick, and we're a couple question marks between us, getting into this champion select, but he's making it work, obviously.
And showcasing why that he's just trying to create space between him and the Tristana, punishing iBoy and Mako in lane.
They're trading in the mid lane now. Gone past the level 6 mark, so there's more kill pressure. Clear just saying, hello, I'm here.
But MLXG and Alistar are underneath Clearlove. He's about to walk into 2 people.
And actually is just around the corner, so is Ming, and it was a trap all along. Clear them. Actually heading into this one. He had the call in for the top lane.
My God.
And that is a beautiful ultimate in from Cassiopeia. 2 kills over to EDG.
You don't want that. RNG do not want that. When Shen is available, Shen is unlocked. He's now just going to teleport. They're still going.
Xiaohu wants to turn this one around, but the flash after the flying drag was key. The turnaround. It's still a 1-for-1 trade. 4-1 in total.
And damage still done because it's Scout that walks away with the double buff. So that lane just got from bad to worse for Xiaohu.
Trading in the top lane as well. Let Me will land a crucial rupture there, facing down Mouse, but RNG, we said it between yourself and me, Frask, and even the team, the management, that they come in as the favorites. But right now, it looks like it's going to be evened up by EDG. Has to flash away. Uzi, no more summon. Last moment. Are you actually kidding me? But they will get the stun on top of that from the concussive blows. And iBoy sends him flying into a body bag.
Let me teleport it in though. They want the revenge kill.
He's looking for the knockup. Doesn't connect it. Flash after. Can't dodge that one. In with another nice knockup in from Ming. Will not culminate into anything. And now Scout to ride. Wants this lockdown, but Mako desperately trying to get involved with concussive blows. MLXG on his way into the bottom lane as well. But Ming is slowly burning out from Scout. Oh, he dodged the first kill. Dodge again. Ultimate. Oh, it goes pinball left to the right. And Scout finds that second as he looks to back away. 1 kill returned by Let Me. But now Xiaohu, he's turning up into the fight. Wants to land this stun. It's not quite enough damage just yet. The flank drag buys a bit of time. Mako says, hello, I will be the sacrificial lamb. I'll just be annoying for a couple more seconds. And that's another kill to Xiaohu.
And when all is said is done, the #1 score that you need to pay attention to is 3-1-2 on Scout's Cassiopeia.
And welcome to the LPL Finals, game #1, where we all just come to bottom lane at 10 minutes and we decide to duke it out one
Chinese
at a time.
aggression, definitely alive.
The ants come marching in.
The meat grinder is what it felt like.
Yep. Well, Uzi has found himself a new home in the top lane now, as we get to see that play one more time, all the way from the start.
And this is kind of classic Uzi, the fact that he's, overextended in a 2v1, maybe there's communication coming from Let Me, trying to get that teleport down earlier. You can actually see Cho has made his back, waits for the back to complete, and then teleports.
Yeah, and Uzi actually loses the stun, turns around, and would have survived if he didn't turn around. But it's because the teleport was coming through from Let Me that he chooses to act aggressively, bites off more than he can chew, and suddenly EDG, they were on the back foot, but with how early Scout gets here, you can see where Xiaohu is on the minimap. He was very far away.
But we have to cut the replay short because we have Mako getting caught out in the river. Pops the ultimate, buys a bit of time, but Xiaohu puts him down. And it looks like someone else died. It seemed like Scout died before that play.
And iBoy's in trouble.
He has flash.
He's been knocked back. He's waiting on that rocket jump. There's the flash as well, but MLXG is closing the noose, and he has too many members of RNG surrounding him. He'll be falling. Another kill to Let Me.
And suddenly iBoy, we come back in, he's left out on his own. Mako gets picked up earlier by Let Me, and suddenly the 80 carry, kind of a chicken without his head, is picked off quickly after.
Yeah, the 3-1-2 Cassiopeia that we were looking towards, suddenly 3-2. No idea how she passed away, and as a result of that, the map opens up. Of course, we get to see it again now.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
It was all of the people above him?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, he's in a pretty bad spot.
Right, good job, detectives. We've solved the mystery.
I think I figured it out, Pulse.
That's got him. We've examined the crime scene, no worries.
That's also the Megan special, coming from the top side of mid lane. This time around, though, he recruits MLXG to help him out. Mako probably should not have still been in this position.
I mean, Let Me was in a dark alley. He was like, hello, I'm just here to ruin your day. Well, after all that said and done, the dust has settled, and that's 14 kills so far, and we've not even had 13 minutes into the game. Both of these two teams coming out swinging, and that trash talk definitely wasn't for nothing.
And it's the two big MVPs that really have been the primary benefactor. Again, the Cassiopeia, but now also Xiaohu on the Syndra on the back half of those last skirmishes. So both these coveted mid laners, Scout and the Little Tiger, are looking to try to carry this game.
And alongside them, you have to look at the top laners between Mouse and Let Me. 3-1-2, 2-0-2. Fantastic scorelines. They've been involved in majority of these kills, performing incredibly well. You'd say better than you'd expect, especially when you tout them as role players.
What's that turned into in the items as well? I'm looking specifically at Scout, who has gone towards that Abyssal Mask. You know, that's a build we've seen recently from Cassiopeia, so that'll be adding to not only his combat stats, but also his defensive stats into Let Me, Xiaohu, and MLXG for us.
And we've already seen Scout's confidence that he will get his face right up in the fight, that he has the confidence that he can sidestep, he can weave in between those skill shots and make something out of nothing. That Abyssal Mask is only going to make that easier.
Look at this, EDG. Attempting an invade, will be caught on this control ward, but primarily pushing Uzi back because that first blood tower did go over to RNG, and EDG want a piece of the pie. That should be the bottom tower falling. That being said, Clearlove has backed away, and they're not fully committing to this. There is a Rip Herald being taken on the top side by MLXG.
But you can already see that Scout and Mouse are starting to peek their head in there, which is why Xiaohu's positioning right now is so important. He's moved into Fog of War. EDG haven't had a chance to get Mako on that side of the map, don't have the necessary vision. So EDG want to go in and contest this Rip Herald, but they simply can't do it because Syndra has disappeared.
I knew I heard a Shadow Dash off in the distance lands, and Let Me is kiting back, taking Witcher Tower aggro. Xiaohu's also turns up to the party, but it's not too much here yet. A Scout is about to go
knows where he is.
MLXG. Now he's kiting towards the top side. Flash forwards. He is knocked up by the Rupture. Got the Shen teleport on top of him. Plus Clearlove coming in. Disruption out from MLXG.
Oh, the dive.
Knock up. They're going all in on this play, but the Unleashed power will turn it around. Oh, Cassiopeia caught under the tower. Beautiful stuff from RNG. As Let Me now chasing down Mako has turned up. And Ming is getting involved into the mosh pit.
And Iboy's here.
Formed in the top side. Iboy turns up for that kill.
Uzi.
Now Mouse, they need damage control. They need to get out. Iboy knows he can't do too much. Maybe he's got a buster shot. There it is. Uzi wants this kill. He's made this trip worthwhile off the back of Ming. They're chasing him down on the tower, but this is a Shen. He's so tanky. They are cutting away from the tower. Uzi gets the first. He's looking for the second. There it is. Uzi with the double.
They just funnel in and they continue to fight. They've gone for a bottom. Now we're up in top lane, and we have got 21 kills at 15 minutes.
A reminder, that started underneath RNG's top tower, and it ended up underneath EDG's.
Classic. Classic LPL. As we take a look at the replay one more time.
The big thing for me is MLXG. This cast is placed so well to deny Mouse. Flanking in from the side, immediately thrown away, which forces Clearlove to overcommit, take the brunt of Syndra's damage as well as the tower aggro.
Yeah, that's the point in the fight where you say, well, that was a good cast, let's call it a day, let's not Shadow Dash just to close distance when it's not going to connect on anybody, because you're diving under the turret when RNG have knowledge of this over the control wards. Iboy comes in, thankfully, at the correct time, but Uzi is already just behind him to pick up the scraps, and with how tanky Alistar is, very successful dive. Good dodge from Ming as well.
This is also a perfect showcase that this team is no longer just about Uzi. The fact that Ming makes that flash Alistar play and then has the confidence to say, my AD carry is Uzi, if I go in, he's going to set this up.
And to be clear, Uzi was just never there. That's basically the name of the game. Think of the last fight in bottom lane. Uzi was dead. They're not working around him. They're letting him be a star by himself. They're winning the rest of the match.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we said heading into this matchup, is that eyes have to be on Xiao, has to be on the rest of the team, like MLXG even, because he has had the highest percentage of deaths heading up to this final, so you have to be looking towards him. And yes, he's died 3 times, but he's set up his team for success. His top tower will finally fall to EDG. Scout wants to back him up, but Righteous Glory from Let Me will get him out of dodge.
And finally, some semblance back of control for EDG. You know, pull the reins back a bit, catch your breath, get back into your lane, start clearing out these creep waves and moving your big pieces around. Use your Shin, create numbers advantages. Stop funneling into all of the CC and the pick potential that RNG have on their comp.
You have to expect they'll move the Shen towards the bottom lane if they want it to continue to be a winning spot on the map as well. The outer turret down there is something they can take away. It's very low already, so they can just knock down what was set up. The rest of the map, though, RNG, you can see them starting to pressure around the middle lane. The one remaining out of structure for them. There's no Herald, there's no Drake. It's the one big thing they have left to take.
And this is where MLXG gets very important because he's the Gragas. He needs to be able.
Got taken for a ride.
He needs to be able to threaten that mid lane, which is what RNG want as their next big objective.
Here comes the Herald.
There's the Herald. Gragas will approach. EDG have to give this one away.
The dive threat is very severe from RNG if they're running, and EDG aren't set up. If they are set up, then they should be able to hold, but Cassiopeia is bottom, so there's no chance.
Here comes the slam, but EDG aren't particularly fans of the Space Jam, so they'll back it up. EDG will have to defend against his Herald in his next push, though, as RNG will try and convert this into a blue buff on top of that.
Also into the top wave push, so this is massive tempo advantage for RNG.
Hey Mouse, how's it going? I would like to knock you up, but unfortunately, Letme wasn't able to land that Rupture. And he's got an early Titanic Hydra, so he'll just take away the whole minion wave.
See right there, though, from the pace of this game, I clinched. I was like, they're going to dive Mouse. They're going to kill that guy right now, and I'm very surprised that they actually backed away.
It is good to see them slow the tempo down, though. They know what their priorities are, and with all of the outer turrets gone, vision is usually going to be the name of the game. Exploiting the vision, perhaps, of their opponents, as we didn't even see the bottom outer turret go down.
No, I mean, there's been so many kills in this game. You can actually just see how accelerated the item builds are here. Top lane, Warmogs and Righteous Glory already complete from Letme. Top lane, like Titanic Hydra.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. That we'll call that one a mystic. As Letme turns up to the tower and clears up this minion wave.
That's not something you expect from Uzi. Shows that maybe he hasn't been playing Ezreal himself.
But this is something that RNG actually excel in. It's their ability to kind of play the side lanes and then also maintain their centerpiece in that mid lane. So doing a good job, kind of playing musical chairs. Who's got responsibility of mid lane? MLXG's flanking from the top. EDG have to respect and back off. And it also gets much easier because Uzi is on Ezreal. Yeah, he missed the creeps that time around, but if he hits them, suddenly they have another cross-map kind of controlling of creep wave ability.
And this is a really good time in the game for RNG. They've got their Trinity Force done on Ezreal. They've got their Void Staff done against all of the magic resistance that EDG are starting to rock around with. And then they've got their big tank in the top lane. Letme, he's level 13, he's got his 2 items, and if you don't kill him immediately, he will gradually kill you. And so RNG, they're fully equipped, they're set to go. You contrast that to the side of EDG, and they've got a lot of component items. Scout's the only real completed item.
Yeah, quickly touching on the Warmogs, I think it's just so important about how these fights will play out. Once EDG take a bite, they almost have to commit right then and there, despite the fact that their 2 primary carries are so much about sustained damage. They need to grab hold of the Cho, walk him down, and not allow RNG to disengage, re-engage with the Gragas, the Alistar, and the Syndra.
RNG are making tracks around the top side, though, controlling the Baron pit. EDG are trying to contest this as they see most of the vision being placed down. Clear just hitting that sensor. But RNG very much aware that Clearlove is in this area, even setting up the Dark Spheres from Xiaohu, attempting to find a pick.
Yeah, they watched him.
Talked about the creative ward placement of RNG. You can actually see one right there. Ming said he's been studying the LCK.
EDG rotating back towards the mid lane now. RNG still ahead in those towers, taking down all of these outer turrets and giving them a lot of pressure.
There they go.
Means that checking these brushes, very scary. One person gets picked, initiates the fight, 4 versus 5 ensues, Baron is on the table.
But if it does turn into a 4v4, naturally Shen's going to get there first. Both the top laners were on the side map, or excuse me, side lane.
Yep. But if they do get the pick as well, that bounce house, there's no escaping the pick. That's the most important part for EDG. They have to respect it. They have to use the flag. Just throw a Braum Q in every bush to make it seem like you've got vision somehow. Scare them out of places that you don't want them to be in, because they have to still keep up in the vision game or they will lose objectives. They will lose the Baron.
It's now the setup. It's still waiting around this area, playing it methodically and slow.
Because they're moving Cho'Gath up, it means that they want to start the Baron, that they're done baiting it, and because they also have the priority over the bottom side, as soon as you start to see Letme start cheating up, that's RNG starting to pull the trigger.
Whoa. They're just going to spot them there in the sensor.
They're so hesitant to actually get there.
Doesn't quite land, but Ming will make sure it does. Mako, he's actually turned this one around, waiting for the Shen Ultimate to come in. Mouse doesn't pull the trigger. Didn't want that fight front to back in the jungle.
Yeah, that was actually pretty nice from EDG when you see the reaction. They're very much aware of what RNG are trying to do, and that's pick, not do the objective. RNG, on the other hand, Alistar is altered, and so he's actually a fragile champion running around on the Rift. If EDG find them, it could be very much detrimental to them. However, at the same time, Shen has teleport, so his ult, shield's nice to have, he's still able to side lane.
The unfortunate thing for RNG, though, is that they ran out of time to make the play. The wave is set up in the mid lane. iBoy is now going to pick up the free tower, and RNG are going to lose a lot of control and pressure around the Baron pit that they've been working so well with.
Yeah. EDG corralling them to the top side of that river as well, so iBoy completely uncontested and taking that one. Plus, EDG have the inside track onto this Ocean Dragon on top of that, so EDG just taking objective after objective based off of RNG trying to make the proactive play.
It just makes the disengage from EDG that much more important. You know, at the time, it maybe looked a little bit wonky simply because they still don't have vision control. They're just going to pull the Cho. They're just going to pull the Baron, but the mid-wave crashed for them.
Looking back at those item builds, specifically Uzi, because it's nice to check in on this champion. We haven't seen in the LPL for the entire split. Trinity Force and the Mirror Mana both completed there for him.
Yeah, fully upgraded, of course, on the Mirror Mana, not just the Mana Mune now. 24 minutes, it's pretty good timing, you would have to say, for an Ezreal. Against his opponent, though, iBoy, he hasn't even completed the cull.
But he has been sitting on a lot of gold. He's had BF Static Shiv for what feels like ever, and he's finally making his back.
He should have some gold in his pocket. There it is, yeah. Confirmed into 2 items. As you said, cool. Still yet to be cashed in. EDG moving their way towards this Baron.
And this is that opportunity to turn back the tides, where RNG, they had the item advantage, we noted that, and then you watch the full control of the river belonging to them. Well, now they have a more equal fight on their hands, you'd have to say. EDG have got the item spiked, feeling a bit more confident themselves in their own right, and are able to start pushing back forward.
Yeah, they're slowly crawling back into the game. They've created the hiatus, they've created the pause. Again, the disengage, it's that important because you look at that disengage from EDG around the Baron pit, you say, this is what bought them the 3 to 5 extra minutes. This bought them the Infinity Edge. And if they win the next fight, it's that moment that swings them back into the game.
Every level iBoy gets.
Tension is rising. There's a pick into fight, into a Baron, into a play, into towers. We had a lot of aggression in the early game because you could kind of afford to, but at this point in time, every kill matters for us.
And you know, this is where I thought that EDG would have kind of the one play to beat RNG. It's their ability to play around the Baron.
So right now, it seems like Uzi's handing it to him. Nice knock-up again from Ming. Should confirm this F. Flash is not good enough to save him. Barrel thrown in for good measure. And now with the jungler down, RNG turn towards the Baron.
And that is uncharacteristic. Clearlove almost never gets caught near the Baron pit, but without the jungler, it just turns into a fight.
Yeah, they have to go in.
Shen ultimate on top of Skull. He'll flash away from the rupture. Mako to make sure that front line is still there. He's forced RNG off of the Baron at the very least.
iBoy should actually just be rushing towards the mid lane.
That's what he's doing.
He's moving there now. RNG, they have a decision to make. They have to defend middle lane right now, or they have to fight immediately. No hesitation.
Actually just finds Scout, who was completely by himself. Finds the stun. Ming wants to follow up, but it's good enough with the unleashed power. iBoy's trying to trade in the mid lane. This is a 5-man push from RNG.
I don't think it'll go any further than that. Clearlove is back alive. If they get Mouse back, if they get Braum here, it'll hold. But so far, they're still going.
The creep wave.
Yeah, they've got all these minion waves. The backdoor bonus is no longer there for EDG. The tower's down. Inhibitor set to fall. 26 minutes and RNG are converting this one.
iBoy's still pushing mid. Keep that in mind.
He's about to crack this inhibitor tower. EDG not looking to engage, but stop the recalls. Frost.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just need to chase them. That said, Ming has created a lot of space, and it's still going to take a lot of time to burn that mid inhib.
One recall coming out there. I mean, there's no Baron enhanced recall, but Alice is making his way back.
He might be able to get this. Alistar's in base, though. He might even lose his life for it, which could relate to Baron. No, he's good. He's good.
Down to an 8th, and he's got it. Will be able to back away, and iBoy even tosses out the Buster Shot for good measure.
Syndra's behind him.
I mean, this is just the great escape right now.
He's going to have to go the long way, and he doesn't have Buster Shot. Xiao's going home. It's not worth it.
Yeah, he's good to go. And RNG didn't turn towards the Baron as well, having 5. So EDG somehow managed to even up the inhibitor trade based off that play from iBoy.
That's what a Tristana can do for you, right? So RNG, they make the correct move. EDG adapt in the correct way to get themselves an equal trade. And at the same time, they now have control around the Baron area again.
And here's the thing. We had huge questions about iBoy. We know he's good, but we don't know if he's great. Underneath this magnifying glass, with everyone watching him, the biggest stage he's ever played on, and he makes a decision like that. Yeah, it could have been Clearlove and Mako that called it, but he's the guy who executed on it.
We're back to even now, at least in terms of those structures. There an extra 1 tower over to RNG, and the goal totals do reflect that on top of the kills that they've managed to get over EDG. But it's not as catastrophic as it originally looked like. 5 people gunning down the top tower.
And we're still kind of leapfrogging back into this game through itemization for EDG. You now have the second Zeal that's been picked up for iBoy, looking for that rapid-fire cannon. So we're getting closer and closer to that late-game break point that they want to hit.
Yeah, the big 3 items. There is still 2 Righteous Glories and a Chain Vest to be seen on the side of RNG. So all of the damage he's dealing, it's accelerated towards the certain carries. He'll be able to fight Uzi and Xiaohu, but can't really fight Xiaohu. Xiaohu just presses R and outplays him. And Uzi is very hard to catch. So right now, that's kind of his purpose. He's going to have a pretty hard time killing the tanks.
RNG keep trying to draw EDG towards this area, find themselves a pick. Mako has to flash away as well for us.
The window that EDG have, though, is that they still have a blue trinket on Scout. So as long as Cassie's in position, which I think it's just about to go down.
There it is, Shen takes that tower. Meanwhile, again looking for a pick on
still doing
this time
Baron,
he has
there's
the
no flag drag.
Knocked back again, Mako's
Shen's
leading the
ulted.
charge. He's heading into the pit, but they need to get the payload over to this Baron so they can get this fight out for Xiao, who's at the back of the pit. He's being chased out there, but there's the gobble up from Cho'Gath. That will be it going over to RNG. Though they need to disengage now. They've lost their support and Mouse is in pursuit. Xiao incredibly low, but they should be able to make it out. Uzi's been tagged by Mako.
Damage is done. RNG managed to squeeze out, what, 4 Barons on their members? Yes, they've got the mid inhib down, but they had waves pushing pretty much everywhere else. Bot lane's going to be fine. Cho'Gath can actually just walk down and start pushing that one. Top lane's already pushing in their favor.
Yeah, and because they have the Baron buff, the worthy sacrifice of Mig, maybe it buys an extra 10 seconds for EDG. That's enough to clear this wave, but this wave is an ever-present threat now, where the Baron buff only has 2 lanes that it needs to attack. If you really want, you can send someone out there. Let Me can be a pest with the super minions, empower the wave, and stop Mouse from using his Titanic Hydra to clear the other side wave. RNG have options.
Yeah, he has a teleport as well on top of that. And EDG, you know, the play that you said for us that they were looking towards would be around the Baron area, but it seems like the execution wasn't there as we take a look at the replay.
It's also the power of Alistar and why this has been such a huge contested pick. MLXG throws an early cast to, again, stall Clearlove, but it's really Ming that's tying up Clearlove. No flag and drag, no flash. He can't get into the pit to even contest with the feast.
Yeah, between MLXG and Ming, they played that exceptionally well to try and prevent them from getting in there, knowing that Cho'Gath will be the person taking the Baron down. There's no need to have a smite battle. He even body slams out to stop Clearlove from getting in. And all of that starts and snowballs from the fact that they force Clearlove to flag drag away. He then has to just walk in. There's no way for him to navigate around.
RNG trying to double down on that play now to head towards his bottom lane. This tower will be falling.
Have been notoriously one of the most punishing teams once you give them Baron. Their ability to be decisive, especially in this meta when the tanks get so massive with a dive threat. You pop the Righteous Glory, you just fly in.
Ooh, teleport being used there by Mouse. Felt like the pressure was a little too strong. Even though they got the minion wave clear on this one, there was another minion wave flooding in. RNG keeping up the pressure. Let Me on the front lines.
You're actually looking for the taunt, I would have to say, from Mouse alongside Clearlove as the 2 ways to counteract the fact that RNG are pushing. The teleport was clever, I will give him that as well, of course. Can go to side lanes once again, use his ultimate, and he pushed the top wave really deep. So it's at the middle of the map, which buys EDG about 2 minutes of time.
Yeah, it's that top wave as well as that mid inhib that is doing so much work for EDG to absorb a lot of this Baron timer on RNG. So you never want to give away a Baron, but I think EDG have weathered the storm.
Yeah, for now that will just be another Cloud Dragon over to RNG, so, you know, EDG counting their blessings on that one. It wasn't something like an Infernal, a Mountain Dragon that they really had to go out and contest, so they can actually just hunker down, sit in their base. Next dragon's going to be the Elder Dragon that he will want to go out for, but it's not for a decent while, so they've got a bit of breathing room. They can farm up the Tristana, the Cassiopeia, what their original composition was meant to do.
I do want to quickly touch on the Shin, though, because it's now just occurred to me since we saw Mouse manipulating the waves, which that makes sense, that's Shin. But you look at it stylistically against RNG, what do they really excel at? It's their 1-3-1. It's their ability to play the corners of the map, split you up, and then find a pick. And speaking of pick,
Clearlove again getting caught out in the jungle. He'll get the flag and drag, and the cast goes wide. Scout providing fire support, forces the flash out as MLXG comes in. Didn't have his own flash.
That's unfortunate. That's what, the 3rd time in this game that Clearlove has been caught out of position, so consistently finding himself in places he doesn't want to be in. Mako's been caught once or twice this game as well. They're not working together. They're never caught together. It's always separate.
And it's weird because RNG aren't really even setting a trap. It's actually just Clearlove face-checking into RNG multiple times. So as I was saying, the Shin pick becomes that much more important, not just for Mouse, but against RNG in particular, because it can band-aid a lot of the things that their style naturally makes strong.
Now RNG are quite happy just to take all those advantages as long as EDG keep throwing it over towards them. They've just been pushing in these lanes. They've been playing it honestly exactly how they need to, you know. There's not been anything too crazy about how they've been playing. I'm looking at Mouse, and there's a good chance he gets caught out here. He's got a long way to go if he wants to make it back to his tower.
They've got the slow.
You know this is going to take quite a long time to actually get through the health bar of Mouse, and everyone else is converging onto the bottom lane. It's about to get heated in a few seconds as both ultimates from Xiao and Let Me are used.
Oh, he's alive.
From Uzi 3 ultimates used against Mouse, and he's still kicking.
And the big problem was Xiao, who didn't have the mana. Yes, he made his rotation through the cooldowns, but he had to use the ult earlier than he would have liked because he didn't have the mana left.
Yeah, they're not able to cement themselves the kill, and it was just Xiao who there with Let Me. There's the creative movements, once again, they were set up in more of a 2-3 type of style where the rest of RNG start to pivot down towards them. But that's one of those things that RNG are always capable of doing, adapting, pivoting, changing how they're playing around the Rift and their numbers and their allocations to confuse your opponents.
But to have anyone in the side lane, you know, Shen is probably going to work out most of the time. Very difficult to kill a tank who is so far ahead of the curve in terms of farm and kills. The fact that the Shen has 320 farm at 33 minutes is a little bit insane.
I mean, that said, it's not a huge waste, though, for RNG. You might as well throw everything in the kitchen sink to try to kill the Shen there, simply because there's no big objective that's coming up. They still had a timer on Baron, timer on Elder, so all of those cooldowns will be back up and available.
And that is a big CS advantage, I'll give you that, but just look at the items and tell me that really feels like it's an advantage to him at all, because there's still 4 there for a Cho'Gath. He's pretty much got everything he needs. Level 16, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Warmogs.
And some health.
He's got a lot of health. Like, Cho'Gath set up. Yes, Shen has a big advantage. Means that he's not losing. He is about to Flame Horizon, but it hasn't had, you know, this crazy amount of impact that's been game overwhelming.
I mean, we've seen so much global gold as well go over to RNG that's making up a big part of that difference. And for now, RNG probably just waiting out these monster objectives. Another minute until Baron. There's no reason just to go face first into the jungle and try and contest a red buff right now when they can just wait for this Baron.
Yeah,
so I say that and Uzi's going to give it a good shot.
Close.
Look, it was close. About 50 HP off.
Yeah, it's going to come down to another vision play. Now, RNG did so well with all of the CC on the kit, the Gragas, the Alistar, the fact that frees up those 2 champions because Cho is there with the Feast. So I'd expect a very similar play from RNG again.
And you can see what EDG are doing. The fact that iBoy didn't hit the minion wave as he walked past. The Tristana seeing juicy red dot says no. That's because the item is now being completed from Scout in the middle lane. That is a big item. That is a big counter to Syndra item. Alongside having the cleanse now, he's got the extra shield with the Abyssal Mask.
Yep.
He's going to be doing a lot of work in team fights if he's able to.
Always just holding my breath around this one because EDG, this one person gets caught out by Zhao, who any of the pick potential here.
But EDG should just feel confident enough to just run it up mid lane, force RNG out of this.
Again, the knockup lands onto Clear Love. The ultimate is used from Mouse to try and turn this one around. It looks like they are actually looking for disengage, but Let Me, he's so damn tanky. Just eating up Ezreal's ultimate there with the Unbreakable. EDG can't afford to split up, so make
this
a
is awkward, wrong side of the rift.
Definitely, that's not your base that you're running towards. EpicSkillshot is closing the noose, closing the trap. The slam that comes in from Alistar, but the back line from RNG, they're trying to go front to back, and eventually EDG are going to run out of space to go towards.
EDG have run out of help.
He's closing in for the flank once again. EDG backs up against the wall, slowly being poked away. Uzi, he's located Scout, but he's ending anything up. A 1-for-1 trade, and a fight ensues. Everyone's starting to explode from EDG. iBoy trying his best to kind of wave.
He's doing work.
Massive Cho'Gath, who's there. Flash, knock up, knock back. Ming secures the kill there. 4-to-1 trade. RNG come out ahead.
Mouse is going to be lucky to survive, but he's going to have to lick his wounds and go back to base as RNG individually just outplayed EDG. They barreled them into their own lane where they don't want to be, the wrong side of the rift. And my god, Ming's awareness in team fights.
And we're actually going to go into the replay, but the pings were down on the Baron and RNG were heading that way. Looking back at this, the fact that Scout uses the ultimate only on Uzi, it is immediately QSS, and the Ezreal trades with Cassiopeia, that could not have gone better for RNG.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on the strategy there from Scout. He's separated from his team, but watch Ming here, because iBoy, he's doing enough work to win this entire fight. Flash Pulverize into the Feast. There is no counterplay for iBoy. He had a moment. He saw that I can get a Panther in my mind. It was gone.
I mean, Zhao, who is so close to death, like a single auto attack topples him over. Then he looks towards the second. But RNG, you know, obviously using the fact that death times were so long, went towards the Baron and took that one up. Now Elder Dragon is the objective on the table.
And they've got the Baron buff so they can control the waves, force EDG to clear them out and give them a free Elder if they choose so.
And a lot of this last fight as well, you have to bring it back to that, was that EDG wanted to push mid. They didn't want to fight for the Baron. They wanted to go straight down mid lane to the open inhibitor, but RNG clipped to the wave before they could even do that, and suddenly a fight had to break out. EDG had nothing left to secure, and RNG to start off Baron. Elder.
Clear Love, he's waiting for the flank though on the bottom side. Got a bit of time before he needs to start contesting EDG. Clear's going to join the rest of the team, in fact. Shen's got the teleport. Scout wants to pace forwards, but obviously getting a range of his meat grinder, not particularly what do you want to do. He's gone for the initiate, knocks the front line into them, needs to get towards the squishies in the back, but the gargoyles is good enough from RNG for now to keep them at bay. Let me looking for the re-engage. Mouse taking a bunch of damage now, goes into the Spirit Refuge, taken by the beast. Wolf looks for the lockup, flag drag, has a big stun from Scout, but unfortunately there's just no damage left. Mako backing it up, and he's got an army behind him, wants to finish him off. Highboy, he's got on a journey, but he's got the minion wave with him.
And that's the most important thing. It's the fact that he has the creep wave. So RNG are forced to go all the way bottom. But Highboy, you can't win that race.
And it's 30 seconds on the rest of his team. So yes, he has to go back to base right now and try and defend. RNG, let me scorn. He has teleport. He's probably just going to teleport back in. I feel like RNG can end the game.
I mean, that's what they're doing right now, Rusty. And Highboy stopped off to take the red buff. And now he's going to come back into this 1 versus 5. This is a mammoth task, and honestly, the odds are against him. RNG are bearing down on the Nexus, and he actually just disappears. Zhao, who puts him down on RNG, will take game 1 in his best of 5.
And Xiaohu looking very calm, cool, and collected. Captain of the team right now knows that this is still an endurance test, a best of 5, despite a very clean opening from RNG.
The crowd loves it.
Cold-blooded killers. RNG will finish off EDG in game 1. It was a messy early game. It was scrappy. But RNG, it's got to feel good. They come in as not the underdogs in this one. They come in as the favorites into this final, and they started off strong for us.
And it came down to decisiveness, really. You know, it was decisive for RNG to make those big Baron plays. It was decisive for RNG to clip the wave when they saw EDG were out of position in mid and start the fight. EDG, are we using the Cataclysm? Are we waiting for Scout? The fact that Shin ulted on Scout for the Elder Dragon fight, such a bizarre target when you have Jarvan and Braum to get into a backline.
Yeah, I will say the decisiveness was a key factor as to why RNG were able to come out ahead, but when you come back to that early game, when you really look at it, these teams were out for blood, and they found it against each other quite a lot, but that extra added class that RNG have seems to be what tipped it over in their favor, particularly in game number 1 here.
And honestly, they did have the gold advantage for a big portion of that game, and a lot of it was also gifted over by EDG, you know, like they were walking up, Lilith would be caught out, Mako would get caught out.
That was the specific that I was going to drill you for. Not gifted by EDG, gifted by Clearlove. This was a very uncharacteristic performance from him, caught multiple times at very key moments in the game. He cost his team massive in mid.
Yeah, you meant to look at someone like Scout or IB. We call them consistent. We call Mako and Clearlove the rocks of the team, the consistent performers. And, you know, maybe the Jarvan wasn't something that he had planned. Maybe it was a takeaway from RNG, and maybe he wasn't as comfortable on it. But what you will say is, the champion comfort, throw it out the window, because ultimately it's his decision-making to be where he was, to get caught how he was. He knows better. I
mean, Jarvan isn't even in Clearlove's top 5 champions played. If there's one complaint that I've always had about him, it's that his champion pool is so rigid. It's not as flexible as it might appear.
And we have to talk about the fact that Uzi, we had question marks heading into the game. The fact he brings out the Ezreal, never seen this one before in summer of the LPL 2017, but then he comes out and does the most damage in the game. And then it's just like, well, yes, this is Uzi's Ezreal at the end of the day.
I mean, yeah, credit to the Ezreal, the damage graph doesn't lie right there, but ultimately in the team fights he was a big thing, but he was not what won them the game. It was really Ming, Imalek setting up those great CC on those pivotal Baron plays, and Xiaohu putting in a lot of follow-up work.
Yeah, to me, that's the most curious thing, right? Like, the Ezreal was great, but even that last fight we saw where he was just 1v1 in Cassiopeia, what he did that was great was 1v1 to Cassiopeia while she wasn't protecting the team. iBoy was never really protected, and that is a big thing. Uzi didn't need to be protected. He just needed to be an Ezreal. RNG as a 4-man unit was so strong already.
Yeah, and it just won fight after fight after fight as well. But on top of that, it felt like the leadership from EDG just wasn't there in this game. And you already spoke about them just being like caught out, but if that's happening on the leadership level, then obviously that's going to soak down to the bottom. And I felt like iBoy, honestly, so much pressure towards him right
cracked.
Now. I felt like he actually did pretty well in those team fights. Like he was kind of well in terms of mechanics. Those stayed with him.
I just think back to that red buff fight where iBoy he hesitates for a second. Like Rusty's saying, he can see the pentakill in his mind, but he's kind of disengaged. He's going back in, and it's just that slight hesitation that opens up the window for Ming to immediately flash pulverize, kick him back into the feast.
So, like, it could be hesitation. It could just be that RNG are that damn good, because I'm not seeing the hesitation from him. I'm seeing him being controlled. Every single time they put him in the cage, they prevent him from making the plays. He has the QSS and flash immediately, and then he jumps to get himself away from an Alistar and a Cho'Gath who has Feast. That's pretty standard. And then suddenly the Alistar's back, throwing him into the Feast again. Like,
I'm thinking about his back positioning in the team fights, the fact that he goes towards the red buff instead of immediately making the back home, the fact that he's not quite committed to the inhib when they're pushing down bottom. Like, there's little plays.
There's more things, but I mean, there's cracks all over the place. So that's just like one crack in the team, but it feels like there's more happening over the rest of the map, that EDG need to go backstage, take these 10 minutes, and then actually decide what they need to change between game 1 and game 2, because it's not a lot of time, and it's not something you can change from week to week. This is like, what do you have in terms of resources, and then what do we pull out of the bag now?
So actually, I would look towards the support role, I feel like, and I would say that they should pick something for Mako earlier and not let him get pinched. And we said this during the Champions, like, you can't pinch Mako. He has a lot of champions, but you can disempower him from the best champions, from the playmaking champions. They picked Alistar early, then they banned Thresh and Rakan, and they take away the best playmakers from Mako. Braum was a good pick, but it doesn't feel like Mako had near as much pressure or impact as he normally does with his other champions. And for me, that's a place that they should be looking. They should be setting Mako up to succeed, so the rest of the team succeeds behind him as their captain puts in the most work.
Unfortunately, it's going to be much harder to do that because we expect them to be on the red side this time around, because I agree. You look at that Jarvan priority pick for clear love of all people, Mouse doesn't really play it. That should have been an Alistar for how important he is to the LPL.
Well, we get to see the MVP of this game. There will be Ming actually on the support, and as you said, Frost, he was locking down iBoy in those fights, the flash, the pulverizers, the plays that he was making in lane as well.
And it's not just that. Think of it on a macro level. In the LPL, we're behind Division. We struggle to secure that. RNG, EDG, two of the better teams, but Alistar is so punishing around the Baron pit because of his ability to zone and control, especially in tandem with a Cho'Gath.
Just incredible performance from Ming to be perfectly playing with you as well. His awareness in team fighting was impeccable. He did all of the right things, to be honest with you, and Vision definitely one part of that. The confidence was the rest.
I think it's just made the more impressive because he's flanked by so many superstars, honestly, and I can use that word because we have like the likes of Xiaohu, Uzi, Clearlove in this game, Mako as well, and then Ming gets the MVP in the first game. Like, that's so impressive. Yes, he's played in finals before, but he's still, in the eyes of the LPL, still a rookie.
And this is his first season, I believe. You know, taking over from Mata, huge shoes to fill. He is the shot caller, the captain. He's played with multiple different AD carries, Wushin, Y4, and Uzi all on the same squad, and we've gotten to watch Ming grow to getting an MVP in game number 1 of the final.
Yeah, and to do it without having to protect Uzi or without having to have this set goal. He went forwards, he was aggressive, he got to make the plays and set his team up for success. These are things that, when you're replacing Mata, the expectations could not be higher for you, because he took a team from the LPL all the way to MSI, said I'm doing it and did it, and now Ming comes in and gets MVP. So you're right, like, the expectations were high, but he met them, he matched them, and he showed everybody that he's world class.
Yeah, he's not good at trash talk, but he is very good at League of Legends, so that's what counts at the end of the day heading into this best of 5. But right now, you know, RNG do have the hot hand. They're coming in off a lot of momentum out of playoffs into this here today. They've already locked their world seed, but, you know, Xiaohu, Uzi, very hungry for this domestic title. Like, this honestly may even mean more to them than what is approaching them in the next couple of weeks when you look at the international stage, because in front of all these fans before, they have cracked before. Uzi never gotten that domestic title. Xiaohu, yes, he does have one, but adding another one under his belt wouldn't be too bad.
And there's also the fact that Xiaohu had to prove that RNG are kind of the top dog in the LPL. No one was really looking at them. Yes, they've been respected and revered, but everyone's looking at Team WE, everyone's looking at EDG, and the expectations that go there. Like, Rift Rivals, it was given to Team WE to punch their ticket and their victory over the LCK.
Yeah, and they're starting to do that here today as well. So, heading into the rest of the series, I'm going to have an updated prediction from you guys. Rusty, I know you were leaning towards EDG, so you're saying, like, is this going to be 5 games, 3-2 now? Or?
I mean, I always had a feeling that RNG would be the better team, whilst EDG, I had expectations that maybe they would overperform on a final. I think this game 1, indicative of it, but I'm going to stick with EDG.
Proskurian?
I already said it was going to be RNG 3-1. I think they're going to steamroll this.
Where do you think that one loss is going to come in? When do you think they're going to swing back?
I think Clearlove will just pick his comfort pick in Kha'Zix, and I think EDG will just come out swinging like a Talia Kha'Zix early game, throw everything at the bottom lane. Maybe Mako will get the Alistar Kalista combo. RNG will just slip up once in draft.
Yeah, but you always have to wonder whether that's... I mean, next time they're going to ban it away, and also it's a one swing type thing. Like, we've seen the Kha'Zix before, but, like, that's only going to work once against like a team like RNG in this.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, but the J4 will be something that should be gone, and that's always going to be a positive for the side of EDG. So maybe the Kha'Zix is one swing. He's got a Sejuani. He can play the Gragas. He's got Elise there as well.
For now, we are going to take a quick break there, guys. So thank you very much for the analysis. We are going to send it to a break as we set up and the team set up for Game 2.